Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here, and now that my obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I had multiple subscribers say, hey, did you see this video Athlean-X Jeff Cavalier made yesterday? Actually, I think it was the same day when they did it. They said, they've got Jesse on here claiming Jesse gained 20 pounds of muscle, but he's still tiny and weak. What do you think? So I went ahead and watched the whole video. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. This is very concerning to me because Jeff is one of those guys that I generally respect what he says. I usually say, okay, he's a smart guy. He's got good credentials, coaches real athletes. He's got a very, very good grasp of physiology. I mean, obviously, you can listen to him for 5 minutes and realize that he has an absolutely enormous grasp of human physiology. I mean, I don't think anyone can dispute that fact. So I generally respect him. However, this video in particular made me lose some of that respect, and it's because when given a real client in the real world who isn't an elite level athlete, he doesn't seem to know what to do with them. And the results were extremely subpar. In fact, I'm actually concerned that there's a claim that this guy even gained 20 pounds of muscle. I want to see DEXA scans because I'm not seeing it. And for guys who don't understand, yeah, he started out pretty small, but he didn't gain that much size. 20 pounds of muscle. Visualize 20 pounds and say, go to the store next time you're at the grocery store, lay out 20 pounds of steak, raw steak, and tell me that you see 20 pounds of meat added to his frame. I'm not seeing it. I think he got leaner. I think he put on 5 or 6 pounds of muscle. That's what I would assess based upon what I saw. That's all I'm seeing. And the problem we run into is the fact that he is still absurdly weak. I mean, I'm talking it should take less than 6 months to take a completely untrained, healthy young man and have him stronger than this guy. And the reason that matters is that when you are dealing with drug-free people, size equals strength. They're not separatable. We have study after study after study confirming this, that size and strength are enormously correlated, like 85 to 90% overlap in gains in size versus strength, no matter how much you train, no matter how you train. Muscle mass is the largest factor in your strength relative to your height. So that's the other characteristic that gives away that he didn't gain 20 pounds of muscle. And my problem with this is that I've got to wonder, what did Jeff do with him? Because Jeff said some statements that really concerned me. In other words, I actually agree with his points. I don't agree with the application. And he stands there and goes, well, he's gained strength. I mean, he's got a 300-pound deadlift. Every single healthy young man, and I consider a 30-year-old to be a healthy young man, I have ever worked with in my life hit a 300 deadlift in less than 5 months in the gym. Less than 5 months. That's actually, I consider 5 months to be below average. All right, it's not that difficult to get someone's deadlift to 300, and it sure as hell shouldn't take a year or 14 months. Same thing, I mean, bench pressing, a 200 bench press, 6-7 months. He's a sub 200-pound bench presser. And again, this is for people who want to get jacked. I'm not talking about training people for powerlifting, because those aren't powerlifting numbers. The problem you've got is that you look at the time frames you were dealing with and then the way Jeff addressed this stuff. And I'm sorry if I'm being critical of someone out there who is generally a smart person, but I'm really concerned. It's almost this case of what happens with a lot of people. One of the biggest criticisms of people who say coach D1 athletes, a lot of people point out, is that a lot of them don't need to be qualified strength coaches. These guys are genetically elite. They're genetically gifted. You can have them hop around the weight room and play grab ass and leapfrog and still produce amazing results because they're that genetically gifted. It doesn't take that much to make them better. They respond to everything. They're super responders. They're physical geniuses with amazing explosive genetics, amazing muscle fiber distribution, things like that. That's what makes people elite level athletes. So yeah, Jeff works with a lot of professional athletes, but it takes someone who knows what they're doing to take the average Joe, someone like Jesse, and get results, and the results aren't there. They're not there. I'm sorry that guy would not have gotten that bad of results if I had worked with him. That's all I'm saying. And I don't even coach people right now. I'm not interested in one-on-one coaching because I only do that for friends and family. But when I do this for friends or family, they get better results than that. They get better results than that real fast. So the situation as it stands, he'd gone through some stuff. He had started training with him at Ben, and then I guess he had to quit training for a medical reason for a bit. And he came back, was cleared for full normal training, and he has 14 months of training under his belt. 14 months, 300-pound deadlift. Now, it's even worse by the fact that the guy used to lift in high school. He is a former high school athlete, which means he had a base. You've got old muscle memory to build off of on top of it. Even if he didn't perform the lifts well, the fact that he said that he would squat, bench, and deadlift and all that in high school for sports says that he's at least trained. He's not untrained, and he's got old muscle memory to build off of. So his noob gains should have come even faster, and they're still not there. What concerned me is that Jeff says, noobs make the mistake of focusing too much on numbers. And I'm sorry, I disagree there. I agree with his point that they need to learn how to perform lifts correctly. But he pointed out with Jesse, and Jesse pointed out that when he had him try to do 4 sets of 15 on the incline dumbbell press, that as it got harder, he would start short stroking the reps and do less and less and less. It's your job as a coach to prevent that. And that's the point we need to get to. Why can't you teach this guy to perform exercises and not do that? It should take you one workout session. Furthermore, he pointed out, that a lot of people focus on getting people just strong on the squat, bench, deadlift, row, and overhead press. And he said those are amazing exercises. They're amazing exercises, but as soon as the point becomes about performance, form breaks down, range of motion breaks down, and we kind of come back to the point. He said, Jesse's just now at the point where we're starting to be able to load weight. So you're telling me it took you 14 months to teach him how to squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, and row? 14 months. As an extremely qualified trainer and coach, it took you that long. And here's the point. You're over here you're using the example of using exercises that have an ambiguous range of motion, such as the incline dumbbell press or cable movements and stuff. Well, if you're teaching noobs to do these exercises, it's your own damn fault. You as a coach should know that noobs don't have good body awareness. Why would you prescribe for them these lesser exercises anyways that have ambiguous range of motion? You're telling me that in one session you can't teach somebody how to barbell row? You can't teach them how to bench press? You can't teach them in one training session to unrack a bar, take a deep breath, press down with a bar path that doesn't cause internal rotation of the shoulders, pause on their chest, drive it up and lock it out. You're telling me in one training session that as an elite trainer, you can't teach someone how to bench press. In one training session. That's it. There's no ambiguous range of motion. You pause on the chest and you lock it. Same thing. I had a good friend of mine. He is actually, people argue, so you may know he's my best friend. He's on a SWAT team. I've coached him a couple different times in his life. And what he asked me to do, he said, look, every time my form messes up, I want you to slap me and tell me what I did wrong. And it worked beautifully. When he would unrack the bar, anytime his feet danced, I'd slap him and call him a bitch. And he stopped doing it. When he would deadlift, every time his head would shoot up and look at the ceiling as he was breaking it off the floor, I slapped him. Because that's what he asked me to do. And you know what? It fixed it real fast. He quit doing that crap. Immediately. Immediately. So here's the point. Those 5 exercises are exercises that it's easy to get the form down. Other than the squat is the most difficult. Those 5 exercises have non-ambiguous ranges of motion other than the squat. What I mean on the bench press, if you stop the person and do not allow them to ever move their feet and do not lift their butt off the bench, you as a coach can teach someone that in one session, break the bad habits. You teach them at the bottom of the lift is a pause on the chest, down here below the nipple line with elbows tucked so there's no internal rotation of the shoulders. You help them find their grip width that gives them the right leverages, right hand positions to give them the right leverages, bar path for the right leverages. Any noob coach can teach this. They touch the chest, they lock it up. When the elbows lock, they're done. That's a complete rep. How hard is that to teach? Overhead press. You come down, take a deep breath, you touch the bar to the top of your clavicle. You press it up. When you lock out and you drive your head forward, and you can feel when the joint locks out, the weight feels lighter once you lock it out. Right? The weight gets lighter on the lockout. All these lifts. Squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press. The weight gets lighter when you lock it. Automatically. In fact, if you were grinding the last 2 inches, you can hold the lockout for 30 seconds. You lock it overhead. How hard is that? There is no ambiguous range of motion until you start stopping short Come stopping at the ears, the chin. If you come down to the clavicle, and again, if he's a coach, you should be able to teach him how to do this without injuring his shoulders. You're a coach. It's your job. You can't teach Jesse how to do this. The deadlift. You start with the barbell on the floor. All right, that's the bottom. When you stand up, you're done when your shoulder joints pass your hips at the top. When you stand up straight and your shoulder joints pass your hips, you've now locked out the deadlift. You set it back down, bring it to a dead stop on the floor, and you repeat the process on the coming reps. There is no ambiguous range of motion. The barbell row. When the bar is on the floor and your elbows are locked, you're at the bottom. When it hits your chest, you're at the top. You bring it back down and put it on the floor again. You see the point here? It should take one training session, one session, to teach a new lifter how to do those things. One session. Now the squat might take several sessions to get perfect as far as keeping the bar mid-foot, finding the correct position up top. It might take you a month to teach someone how to squat correctly to where you can start loading the bar up heavy, right? So basically it took Jeff an entire year to teach this guy how to do basic exercises before they could load the bar. Because 14 months, and now he's saying he's now at the point where we can start loading. If he gained strength, I mean, he deadlifts 300 pounds. No. In other words, you had him deadlift with what, 10-pound bumper plates for a year, and then after 1 year of doing that, you started loading the bar? Because that sounds about right for a 300-pound deadlift. If you had someone work technique 3 workouts a week for a year straight, so 150 workouts, right? 150 workouts. You had him deadlift 65 pounds for technique until you felt he could figure out where the floor is and where the lockout is for 150 workouts. Then for 2 months you started adding weight, because that would put him at about a 300. That's reasonable. That's actually what would happen. That would put someone at a 300. You start adding weight every single session. That's basically what Jeff did with this guy. He completely goofed off for an entire year and then maybe started training him for 2 months. And that would produce the strength and the muscle mass he has. That's the only possible explanation. And that's the problem I have with this discussion of, well, because people without good body awareness, when you start focusing on numbers, well, numbers are how you get bigger and stronger. Progressive overload is the key to hypertrophy. Go back to that point. Well, as it gets harder, they'll start cheating and doing more cheat reps, and they'll start cutting range of motion. Well, you teach them not to do that, and you pick the big exercises, like the 5 that he discussed in the video, those 5 exercises. Had you actually had him spend 1 month learning those lifts, and then the next 13 months actually loading the barbell progressively, he would be bigger and stronger than he is right now. And it shocks me that I feel like people are being tricked, because I don't feel like he gained 20 pounds of muscle. And I feel like Jeff is basically telling people he doesn't know how to coach anybody. Like, what in the hell? He coaches professional athletes. How can he need an entire year to teach the guy technique on basic movements that have a simple bar path? This isn't power snatches. These aren't power cleans. This isn't a clean and jerk. Bench press, you touch your lower chest with your ass and feet planted hard on the floor, scapula pulled back, and you lock it out, right? Look, that's it. That's a bench press. That's all you need to know to get your bench press to 300 pounds. I mean, are we serious? A barbell row, you start on the floor, elbows locked, you pull it till it hits your chest, and you set it back down on the floor. Telling me you can't teach that in one session. 14 months. I just don't know what else to say other than I'm actually in absolute awe, because I don't expect this from someone like Jeff Cavalier with his credentials and experience. I just don't. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. And the fact is, he actually broke down and said that these 5 exercises, well, they're great, but the problem we run into is this ambiguous range of motion cheating. It's harder to cheat on those 5 exercises if you teach them correctly. They have finite ranges of motion that can be easily determined. And once you determine that and you teach someone to perform the lifts, yeah, you can start adding weight, small amounts of weight every single workout for the next year. It really is that simple. Really is that simple. And I understand the squat is the hardest of those 5 to learn. But again, if you're a coach who's working with a person one-on-one, you should be able to sort that out quickly. It's harder to do online, but one-on-one, that should be real easy. I just don't get it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.